Well, hello, and welcome to Will Cain Country. It's Kennedyan for the object of your political affection, Will Cain. Will is on assignment today, so I am here in his stead talking about things of great interest to you, to Will, and to the entire country. Not just Will Cain Country. It goes beyond all of that. Will didn't start the fire, but we are burning for as much data as we can possibly get our hands on because everything is upside down. It is all incredibly confusing. And what should be, if you listen to the pundits on CNN, a really, really bad time for the GOP is actually turning around. Joining me is Tom Shillue, Fox News and Fox Nation host. And we're here to dissect some of that data and make sense of it all. Tom, welcome to Will Cain Country.
Yeah, you know, I was just thinking, Kennedy saves the world, right?
Yes, that's right.
Will Cain Country is part of the world. Therefore, Kennedy is saving Will Cain Country.
I like to think we're all saving each other, Tom.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, yes, let's dissect. I like that. It's like Quincy ME. We're doing forensics medicine.
Yeah. We're the ones in the white coats with the non-latex gloves.
Yeah.
And we've got the scalpel and the bzz thing. And now we're going to take a look at some of the data, which just goes to show that voters are not always correctly represented on networks like CNN. So here is their very gregarious numbers guy, Harry Enton, taking a look at the shutdown data. We are 29 days into the government shutdown. Has it been the end of the GOP as it is currently known? Let's take a look at Harry.
You might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, it hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give, and electorally speaking, when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
So let's discuss this, Tom, because Democrats have said that they are not going to give in and negotiate, that they don't mind if the electorate is in a little bit of pain, because ultimately that pain will lead to pressure on Republicans who will cave on the Obama subsidies. But what I have seen as an independent voter, I'm a philosophical libertarian, is I've seen Mike Johnson go out and make the case for the continuing resolution that they want to pass in the House. I've seen John Thune make the case and try and get some more Democrats on board to vote to either lift this shutdown or at least pause on some of these payments for a month. So people don't starve and don't suffer, and the government can figure things out. That seems pretty rational. I saw Rand Paul the other night talking about having a group of bipartisan senators come up with a way to unpause the government long enough to hammer some of these points. Do you think the Republicans are coming off as the more rational party during the shutdown?
Well, yeah, I think the Democrats were counting on the fact that the media always backs them up in the, after the shutdown happened. So it's 100% shut down by the Democrats. There's no question about it. That's what happened. Democrats said, we are going to shut down the government because we want these things. And so they did it. So they can unshut it at any time. They've all decided they have to act in unison. They have some Democrats, I think, who are kind of on the fence. They might want to, but they're enforcing this. No, we all have to act together. We're not going to let them get the 60 votes. We're going to keep the government shut down. And then CNN and, the Washington Post, and people, everyone did an article. Like, who do you blame for the shutdown? We asked America. It's like, no, everybody knows. It's like it was shut down by the Democrats. So they were counting on that, but I don't think it's really working. Most people know what's happening. They know the Democrats they know what they're doing. Even if they support it, they know that Democrats are the ones who can unshut it at any time. So what does that mean? I mean, Democrats, the people on the left, they still blame Republicans. Oh, you could give in at any time. Most people over at CNN, the hosts, they say, oh, the Republicans, they should give in here. But I think most people know it's a Democrat thing. So that's where it stands. I mean, it used to work when they had a monopoly, when the media could run the story and control the narrative. But now, no one believes the narrative anymore. So, when I say no one, I mean, half the country doesn't believe it.
Yeah, and the half of the country that has been lied to about some of these big government programs. But also, I do have an issue with the SNAP funding lapsing, because for a lot of people who are on food stamps, and, people who live in food deserts, actual food deserts, not the manufactured made up one that Zohran Mamdani says exists here in New York City. And people, by no fault of their own, have been part of a means tested system where they meet the criteria. I don't think that those people should starve. Imagine the anxiety for a family that relies on food stamps to eat if that's going to go away in a couple days. And there are Republicans who are on board with that. I despise most government programs and a vast majority of government spending. But this is one of the few areas where I'm like, I agree with Josh Hawley. I don't think people in this country should starve. What are your feelings about the SNAP program?
Yeah, I don't know why they can't. There's so many things that are, that are still running, because certain emergency services, essential services are running, just like what happened during the pandemic when they said we have to shut everything down. But of course, essential services, and then they decide what is essential. I don't know why
bars.
Yeah, exactly.
Grocery stores.
Really unbelievable.
Not gyms, not churches.
Yeah, I know. And the number of people, I always talk about this, and I talk about it with Greg all the time. The number of people, because I know some whose families were affected by this, who were, struggling with addiction, and they couldn't go to their meeting because the churches were closed, but they could go to the bars. And you know what? Then they got $1,000 check in the mail.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people? I mean, that was a lot of death and destruction.
Yeah, that is a recipe for disaster.
Yes.
It's awful.
But I agree with you. Even if it's not through the SNAP program, that somehow the Trump and Republicans should come up with an emergency way to get benefits to these people. Why not? Why can't they do that? I would think they would be able to do that.
Yes. I think that's one of the critical things.
Just say it's an emergency.
Yes.
I'm also being a right winger, and I'm as right as they come. Like, I'm right wing. I don't even say I'm conservative. I'm right wing. Okay.
Is that more conservative than conservative?
I think it is. I mean, I like to say right wing because conservative, I think there's a lot of people who, I think of conservative as like Heritage Foundation. Well, let's try to be the way that we were, 3 months ago. It's like, no. I want to go way back, Yeah. So, but I am pretty much, you could call me a pro-welfare Republican. Like,
I mean, that's very Catholic.
Yes.
I think that's how my parents are.
Yeah. And
my parents are Catholic Democrats because they want to help people.
Yes.
But that Democrat Party does not exist anymore.
Yes.
Like, what they signed up for, I'm sorry. But
Yes.
but that, I believe, is a vestige of people who feel that if the government has the ability to take care of the less fortunate and people who cannot provide for themselves, call it a safety net or whatever else that has been bastardized and stretched. But I don't think food stamps are something that should be excluded from that.
Yeah. And I think that, because I'm right wing, I want our citizens to be taken care of. So I want to be ruthless with the border. And if there are illegal aliens who are getting assistance, I want to kick them out of the country. So I'm not compassionate in all ways. I do want to feed American citizens who need help. The other part where I often disagree with Republicans is that if you're a single mom, I'd actually rather have you get money and not go to work. I don't like this, like, she's got to work, get her a job, and then drop off the kids at daycare. It's like, no, how about you take the kid to the playground every day and we assist you until the child is of school age, at least that. But I want to just give them money and tell them, you don't have to work. You have a baby. Take care of the baby. I don't want them dropping them off at daycare. So that's what the kind of what do they call that? Welfare to work. That was like a Clinton thing.
Yes.
Democrats got on board. I don't like welfare to work. I like it. It's like, give them the welfare.
Well, they
and then
thought that you were incentivizing women to have children.
Yeah.
And then they would get money from the government. So the government, whenever the government is involved, they always do it wrong.
Yes.
And it's very interesting because, and I'm going to diverge here slightly from what we had planned, but I am seeing people a couple years older than my oldest daughter who are now getting married. And I think that there are so many young women and young men who want to have families and who want to live maybe a pared down, but more satisfying life.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that?
Absolutely. I mean, look, in my Catholic world, they're all doing it. I have, my friends' children are getting married. Some of them, like, in college or right out of college. I don't know if I want that. I mean, I don't want to rush my daughters into marriage, but I would like them to maybe get married, settle down younger than I did.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I were both in New York. You're living your life. A decade goes by, another decade. We got started late. I don't want my kids to do that necessarily.
No, I think there are young women who look at some of their predecessors in the workplace, and they don't see people who are entirely fulfilled. And there are a lot of women, and one of the hardest things as a human being, but particularly as a woman, is finding that balance. And, there has been such an imbalance for so long. And women who are ambitious and smart were told, like, you have to wait because you cannot jump back on this carousel. But it's the same kind of thing. Like, we should be supporting employment trends, especially for women. So, maybe you get a law degree and you work for a few years, but then when you want to have a family, do it when you're young and have energy and are capable, and know that that profession will be there for you when you come back, because right now that is not the case.
Yeah. And the world, who knows? With the world the way it is, AI, we might want to see the destruction of the economy. What I'm saying is that if AI is going to destroy the economy, and whatever my daughter is studying in college is not going to work in 5 years.
It's obsolete, yeah.
Yes. Why not have started a family, and then when the dust clears and and we see that the new economy and what jobs are available to people and things like that, maybe then that's time to start a career. I wouldn't mind if they after college they move back into our house. Remember, it was always like our generation. It's like, yeah, move out, get out of the house.
I moved out like 2 months after my 18th birthday.
Yes.
Never went back.
But I don't mind. What are my wife and I going to do? Move to a Del Webb apartment and play pickleball for the rest of our lives? It's like,
God, that sounds intoxicating. Yes.
I don't want to get the kids out to have their careers. I'm going to have my retirement. I wouldn't mind if my kids move back in.
But that is such a good point, because that is not something that would have occurred to a big section of people had we not all existed together during the pandemic. And the pandemic sucked. But I did love having my kids at home every day.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I was a short order cook. And like my big social outing was going to the grocery store to bring everything back, to figure out, but I loved having them there. And now we can rethink, where do we live?
Yeah.
We thought we had to be tied to these big cities in skyscrapers with long commutes. Maybe that is not the case. And maybe recentering our families is, I think a lot of these social trends will be tied back directly to the pandemic.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that, and the pandemic does kind of go along with like what I said, which was the changing of the economy. And, the idea that we raised our kids to be like, no, you're not going to do that work. You're not going to work in a factory, and you're not going to work on a assembly line, and you're not going to make things with your hands. You're going to work in the information economy. Well, it's funny that then AI comes in. It's going to kill that entire thing.
Yes, but we will still need human beings to do all of the trade jobs, which are now inhabited by older Gen Xers and boomers.
Yeah.
And, and this is something Mike Rowe has been talking about forever. Those jobs will need to be filled. And I think I give credit to Gen Zers and young millennials that they are more nimble than we think they are.
Yeah.
And they will be able to survey that and go, oh, yeah, spending 4 years of college was stupid.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 18 months and learn how to be an electrician. And, and then we will have like the physical labor side, the rebirth of that. as we are seeing reindustrialization in this country, and the marriage, I think, will be more fruitful than we imagine it will be. And yes, there will be a lot of jobs that will be replaced. I want to talk a little bit about Democrats because they have struggled with their party, with the leadership of their party, with the messaging. They are in this protracted identity crisis, and they keep digging themselves in even further. Let's take a look at Jennifer Welch, who is explaining why 70% of voters think establishment Democrats and the Democrat Party are out of touch. Watch.
So listen up, Democratic establishment. You can either jump on board with this or we're coming after you in the same way that we come after MAGA. Period. Stop taking AIPAC money. Go on an I'm sorry I took AIPAC money atonement tour if you want to stay in power. Stop missing out on these big rallies. Hakeem and Chuck should have been front and center introducing the next mayor of New York City, but no, they wouldn't show up because they're pussies.
I would say she's part of the problem. That the reason that people hate the Democrat Party.
She's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost think that people like her are it's going to help Republicans. She's so shrill. She's so unpleasant. She reminds me of the Winter Warlock from Santa Claus is Coming to Town, And I mean, before he put one foot in front of the other, She's got that face. She just looks like a demon. But she wants Democrats to be more shrill.
Yes.
She's saying, I want, she was one of those people who were like, no, after Charlie Kirk was murdered, she said, no, we have to double down on demonizing him. She thinks, like a lot of people, and I tell you, being a New York actor and comedian, I don't see many of them much anymore, but some of my actor friends were very, very left-wing and probably listened to her podcast. And they used to say to me, you don't understand, Tom, the numbers are with us. The numbers are with, and by that, he means the far left. And if the Democrats would stop being centrist and started being far left, then they would have a super majority in this country. And I think they're just wrong. They think, because all of their friends they think they're bigger than they are. This woman, Jennifer Welch, thinks that the Mamdani revolution is a majority in the country, and it's not. It might be a majority.
If the polling shows that 70% of your voters think that everything that you've doubled down on, whether it's climate, identity, trans stuff, general socialist economics, all of that stuff, that does not serve 70% of voters. So who is she screaming to? That's a thing that is so shocking to me is Mamdani happened to be in a moment where he was surrounded by horrible candidates. And it was a layup for him because no one else wanted to do the work.
Yeah.
That does not mean that progressivism is unindictable. It is still as awful as it was when Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush were kicked out of office.
Yeah. And I think that the people who are doing this kind of leftward revolution, they're having success at it in certain areas, like the AOC, the Squad, Mamdani, but they're limited by their districts, really, right? So they think they're going to be able to...
She sounds like very, very anti-Zionist.
Oh, the Jennifer
Welch, yeah.
That was what was amazing, because she's going on about Democrats, and then she says, you got to not take AIPAC money. When everyone comes in with the AIPAC money, we've got people on both sides, Republican and Democrat, or, rather right-wing and left-wing, and they're talking about AIPAC. Maybe there's something I don't know about it, but AIPAC's just another PAC. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
They give money to politicians, and they want them to vote the way they want. Big tech, big oil.
Planned Parenthood.
They are loaded with money. But for some reason, what do you think the reason is, Kennedy, that people always go to the AIPAC as this big villain? I mean, is it based like what we think it is?
Yeah, the inference is you are anti-Zionist. You somewhere in your heart believe in the global intifada.
Yeah.
I don't disbelieve that. And so she is
she
showing everyone this is what's wrong with Democrats.
Yeah.
Like, Democrats are not Jennifer Welch. They would love a return to something that feels like normalcy. But every time you think that James Carville's normal, then he comes out and he's like, and then we're going to shave all the MAGA people's heads and put them in orange jumpsuits, and we're going to march them down the streets, and people are going to spit on them, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, that was just from the other day, right?
Yes.
Because I was reaching a place where I thought, okay, James Carville is one of the sensible ones, but then he kind of comes out with this. He was, talking about this was like a scene out of 1984. He wanted to round up the MAGA base.
Remember Hillary Clinton wanted to send MAGA adherents to reprogramming camps?
Yeah. Yes. But
those are your Democrat establishment folks. Those are your party leaders.
Yeah, they're going to have to. The thing is that I think this is all going to where, and I keep waiting for it, and it doesn't happen. We're a two-party country, and even in, it's a very rare race where you have someone running as an independent, and basically you got two Democrats and one Republican running for mayor now. But it almost always comes down to two parties, even if there is a spoiler in the race, so-called spoiler. But I think it's time that, if Mamdani wins, it's time for the Democrats to split in half. And if Republicans are serious, if the what do you call the never Trump Republicans? I mean, the bulwark type of guys.
Yes.
It may be time for them to
the
split off.
Lincoln Project.
I wouldn't mind if we had four parties. Because the parties, they never want to split because they say, if we split in half, the Democrats are going to win. Democrats say, if we split in half, Republicans will win. If we split into four parties, like there's essentially four big parties in a lot of European countries, in Israel, right? Four major parties. If we had the socialist left, right, which is Mamdani, and then you have the Democrats.
I love that it's not even AOC anymore.
Yeah,
I
know.
He's
taken over.
Right over her. Yeah.
He took it over. So socialists, liberals, and then you have the old school conservatives, the bulwark people, and then MAGA. MAGA is by far the biggest party of all those things. So I always say to my MAGA friends, you want to fracture the party system. It would be wonderful, even if you split it into three. MAGA is often the biggest one.
No, because there's an element of populism there that attracts traditional Democrats.
Yes.
Because, it's still shocking to me that these socialists have gotten so far away from the populist message. And that's what they're trying to claw back, talking about affordability. They're just talking about it in the wrong way.
Yep. And so, maybe this will be the start of that. Democrats are going to have to do something because the socialist wing of the party, they're unabashed now. If Mamdani wins, which I still think there could be, everything could be wrong. My wife doesn't think he's going to win. She says, no, it's wrong. These polls, the local polls are not as good as the national polls. And
well,
she
it was
thinks
very low voter turnout for the primary. And I don't know that I trust any polling anymore. They also told us that Kamala was going to win by between 4 and 8 points last November.
And don't tell me that
a great degree of certainty. And that her internal polling was even more positive than that for her. That her internal polling showed her winning by 10 points.
Yes. So you got Staten Island. The entire Staten Island is gonna vote. You got Brooklyn. I'm assuming the Hasidic Jews are going to come out. They're all going to vote for Cuomo, right? So this could go very differently. But
how many Republicans are left in New York?
I see them all the time, but they're. Even up in Westchester, they say, well, this whole place is blue, my Republican, chums. But if you look around, they're only losing, 53 to 47 in a lot of these races in Westchester. So, that tells you.
Run better candidates.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the problem. Who would want to run for office in this climate?
No.
Everyone I talk to who is an elected politician, and they're like, this sucks. It's a horrible job.
What do you do? Fundraise. All you do is beg people for money.
Yeah, especially in Congress.
Yeah.
You're running for the re-election every other year.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing, begging for votes.
It's a nightmare. I would much rather be on Fox News.
I know people ask all of us, like, are you ever going to run for office?
What?
Absolutely not.
Where do they come?
Why would I do that?
Jason Chaffetz quits the Congress. He wants to come here.
Trey Gowdy.
Yes, it's way better here.
I've never seen happier people than those who have left elected office.
Yes.
They are now talking with great expertise about a job they loathe that they used to do, and they're back in the welcoming arms of the private sector, getting powder and hairspray and free bagels.
It's fantastic.
Yes. Well, Tom Shillue, thank you so much for your time. We're going to see you on the Fox Nation Christmas special.
Oh, we're going to have a good time on that.
I will be there with you.
This time, there's not going to be a live audience.
What?
I think I want to create the sense of playfulness amongst the panel itself. We don't need to impress those phantom audience members. So we're going to try it and see how it goes.
My eggnog chugging last year, I thought was unsung.
It was.
And it's heroics.
Yeah, but you would still do a thing like that amongst us. You wouldn't, it wasn't like you were doing it like Blutarski. You were trying to get the crowd on your side.
Mr. Blutarski, 0.0. All right, Tom, we'll see you all over the place very soon and live on the road with Greg Gutfeld.
Yes, wonderful.
And I will be at Soul Joel's in Pottstown, Pennsylvania on November 22nd. I only have a few Kennedy for President shirts left. I'm not selling them. I'm giving them out. SoulJoels.com is where you can go. Again, Pottstown, PA. It's not far from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Hell, if you're in West Virginia, come on by. November 22nd. It is your pre-turkey delight. And I will be there. We'll have a wonderful night together. Stories from Fox, from MTV, from the trenches, from the foxholes of culture. And fly in, take a bus, take a rickshaw. I will see you at Soul Joel's on November 22nd. We're going to be back in moments with Bridget Phetasy. She, I believe, has fled California because of the lies of Gavin Newsom. And he's in the, yes, Governor Kraft Macaroni and Cheese is in the middle of another whopper. And we'll talk about it next with Bridget right here on Will Cain Country. I'm Kennedy and for Will. Welcome back to Will Cain Country. It's Kennedy in for Will Cain. On this hump day, what? Who doesn't love Wednesday? You know who doesn't love Wednesday? People who wake up and think it's Thursday, which is Diet Friday. And then they realize that, no, in fact, it is only the middle of the week, but we are reaching the peak here on Will Cain Country. Joining me now, she is a podcaster and author. She is a cultural critic and an absolute delight. Bridget Phetasy. The fantasy of throngs of people hungry for her message and wisdom. She rejoins us here on Will Cain Country. Bridget, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you.
So you left California, correct?
I did.
You're in Texas?
I am.
You are technically in Will Cain Country.
I am in Will Cain Country. I love it. I think it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, and it is the gift that keeps on giving, and unlike Gavin Newsom.
Okay, so I want to ask you, because growing up in Oregon, Californians would move to the Pacific Northwest, and they would price people out of their homes because the homes were so much more reasonable than what they had left behind that they were outbidding people, and so people hated Californians growing up in Portland and Oregon in general. Is there the same sentiment in Texas? Are they like, you blue state Yanks can go ahead and leave your politics there in Los Angeles in those scummy alleyways covered in human poop and leave us be?
There is a lot of "Don't California my Texas" that we hear, and I always joke, it's weird because I'll be driving when I first got here and someone would see my California plates and they'd be like, "Go back to where you came from." Ooh. Only it was in Spanish. I think there's a lot of misconception about this though, because when you actually drill down into the numbers, most of the people who are coming to Texas are voting red. It's actually, most of the transplants are fleeing they're libertarians, they're independents, and they're conservatives, and they're leaving, and they're even more red than some of the locals, or many of the locals in Texas. So
Yeah.
they shouldn't fear as much if they actually look at what the numbers say.
No, Gavin Newsom has thrown the door open. It's been like, yeah, good. I hope you leave. We want even more of a supermajority. So the thing that is so creepy about the California governor is the way, and I don't even know if triangulation is the right word. He just flat out lies, and he will manipulate his past statements and restate them in the opposite to try and make it seem that he can inhabit both sides of an issue. And here's a clear example. This is what California's governor said about his son's fandom of Charlie Kirk after Charlie was assassinated. Watch.
Last night, trying to put my son to bed, he's like, no, Dad, what time? What time's Charlie gonna be here? What time? And I'm like, dude, you're in school tomorrow. He's 13. He's like, no. This morning, wakes up at 6 something. He's like, I'm coming. I'm like, he literally would not leave the house.
Did you let him take off school?
No, he did. Of course not. He's not here for a good reason. But the point is,
you canceled school for like 2 years. Once one.
The point is the point, which is you are making a damn dent.
Thank you. I'm kidding.
You are making a damn dent. That is when Charlie very graciously agreed to go on Gavin Newsom's podcast and, did a great job of challenging him in the way that only Charlie could, which was such a threat to the left. So after that, after Charlie's assassination, Governor Piano Key Teeth tried to change his tune, and here's what he said on CNN.
So that's your son, obviously a fan of Charlie Kirk. What was the conversation like between you and your son after Charlie Kirk was assassinated?
Well, he called me, I don't know how he got a phone, but he called me from school that day, really alarmed. And all his friends were around the phone that wanted me to somehow express or understand what was going on. He wanted to know if he was dead. He wasn't a fan of him as much as he was familiar with him.
Why try and soften that, Bridget?
I mean, obviously he got some kind of pushback for being nice to Charlie Kirk, friendly to him, and maybe he was worried that it showed how his son was a little bit more red-pilled than he would like to admit, maybe even to himself, like that entire generation of young men. He does make me believe in lizard people, but he's doing that weird thing. There was that clip, I'm sure you guys brought it up this week, where he was talking about his Wonder Bread days. And, I mean, is this just a thing where they all code switch no matter who they're in front of? And I do think this is why Trump is so popular, because no matter who Trump is in front of, he is Trump. You're going to get Trump. If it's the King of England or if it's a coal miner in Pennsylvania, you're getting the same person. He doesn't do this weird people like, do they think people can't see through this, or that they don't notice this? I don't understand.
Yeah. So here's what I think happened. His son might have gotten bullied by some of the lefties at school and be like, bro, you like Charlie Kirk? So lame. And, maybe he's like, Dad, stop talking about me on podcasts. It's so weird. You're creepy. But also, I believe that his son was really excited to meet Charlie Kirk. I also believe, as you bring up, young men that age were already, before Charlie's assassination, they were incredibly curious about the way he dismantled and talked about things that are so detrimental to them in a manner that was gracious and smart and logical, and that resonated with his son. And, the first time when he was telling Charlie, like, his son was so excited, that is also an indictment of everything Gavin Newsom stands for, of what he has run on, and who he is as a person and as a politician. Because when your child, who knows you best, the person that you have raised, is completely rejecting your politics and your worldview, that is incredibly problematic. And I think Gavin Newsom's people delivered that message to him, like, your son is basically saying he hates you.
Your son is based, and it's not a good look for us. It is interesting in the segment right before when you were talking to Tom about how they have this problem. All of these guys who are running, and women who are running for the Democrat, unless you're going full socialist and just leaning into that. If you're a guy like Gavin who's hoping to run in the general, I'm assuming, and you want to speak to the moderates and the people who you lost, and the men that you lost, which is most of all of them, and you still have to keep your base happy, that is an impossible thing to square. You're just not going to be able to do that, because independents are going to see these clips and they're going to go, this guy's full of it, and forget it. And by the way, where does someone like his son, where do they fit into this party? What the messaging these young guys have been hearing from this party for a decade is that they're bad, they're evil, that men just don't really feel like they have a place with the Democrats.
Why would you?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Like you are a male, you are automatically an oppressor. You mansplain. Fitness is basically white supremacy.
And toxic.
Yes, toxic masculinity manifests itself in high protein diets.
Yeah,
it's like,
and working out.
Yes, and we know the subtext of all these things, even though Democrats try and frame it as self-care. But when young men take care of themselves, they're not even conservative yet. They want to be healthy. They want their bodies to function better. Male and female athletes are the same in that regard. But, they're being told, and it's like the laundry list of things that are now racist. Like, if you have an organized refrigerator, that is rooted in white supremacy. If you weed your lawn, it's like, what kind of basement expectations do you have for people of color?
Yeah. And they don't seem to be able to learn at all from their mistakes or do any kind of. It felt like Gavin, that first clip you posted was right after the election, when he was doing his rounds of, oh, look I'm learning. And we covered this on Dumpster Fire. We were like, oh, don't underestimate this guy. He's like the machine in The Incredibles that just gets stronger and learns. But then I see a clip like this where he's backtracking and essentially throwing his son under the bus and saying, oh, he was just aware of him.
Yeah.
He was just familiar with him, just in passing. He wasn't a fan at all. And that clearly is a lie. And it seems like you haven't learned anything at all, actually. Because when people see that, they're going to say, oh, never mind. But I think that they rely truly on just the blue no matter who voters. So they can get away with this.
So let me ask you this. How does, I want you to forecast, because obviously the presidential election starts now. We're not even waiting till 2026. And one of the dynamics that I absolutely love is Kamala and Gavin have to destroy each other. They have to.
Yeah.
They cannot both exist on the same presidential stage. And here's what I think is so fascinating about their dynamic. She didn't give him a speaking role at the DNC. And, she's trashing him in her book. And he, the entire time, was like, I'm such a big fan of her. I want the vice president to succeed. Deploy me in any way you want. You go, girl. I'm with her. Whatever trite expression he had to use to neuter himself in order to make it seem like he was not pushing a woman of color out of the way to uplift his own political ambitions. So he played that game, and then she made the mistake of not playing along and, taking away the primetime spot when she could. and, you know, trashing him when the book comes out. So he has reportedly taken a bunch of her staffers. They left because, you know, there's no more Kamala Inc. to pledge your life to. So now, like, he can't move forward unless he has completely disposed of her future candidacy. And she cannot move forward with him lurking because he's better on the issues. He connects with audiences. He's terrifying to conservatives. So how do they neutralize each other?
I don't know, actually. Isn't it pretty well known that they just hate each other?
Yes.
And don't they? I loved that whole anecdote. Was it from her book that was going around where she reached out to him and then he said he was hiking and never got back to her?
Yeah.
She's like the most California response ever, actually. I don't know how that even plays out, because is she really gonna actually try and run again?
No one wants her to run.
No.
You know, as someone pointed out the other day, I was like, there are all these factions in the Democrat Party. There's the Obamas and the Clintons, and now the waning Bidens, and there's a Kamala faction. And someone was like, there's no Kamala faction. No one is behind her. Like, no one wants that. No one wants her to lose again, even though she does have name recognition right now. Bill Clinton had no name recognition in 1992 when he ran. None. And he was a two-term Democrat.
Do you think AOC runs?
I think they all run. I think so Trump has taken politics, the snow globe where so much had settled, and just shook it up. And neither party knows really who they are post-Trump. And so Democrats, progressives feel very emboldened by Mamdani's surge. And they're like, no, we're going to take over the whole damn thing now. We're going to do everything. We're going to run candidates. We're going to primary everybody. We're going to take over the House and the Senate. And, you know, it is going to be the Red Scare writ large. So I believe that she runs. I wouldn't be surprised if Bernie runs.
Buttigieg and all of them.
Yeah.
The whole crew.
Shapiro,
my prediction is
Pritzker,
that
they're all up there. And but who do they take down first? Do they take down AOC? She's the easiest one to dismantle. Or do they take down Gavin?
It's going to have to be, like, in order for any ticket to make sense, it's going to have to be, in my opinion, Newsom AOC. Like, it's going to have, I don't even know if these two could ever get along and if they could even work together, but that is the only way you're going to appease the two factions of the Democratic base. You need this guy. Somebody said online the other day, don't underestimate how many just factory setting voters will pull the lever for Newsom, because he looks like a TV president.
Yeah.
He just looks like a sleazy TV president. And I think AOC does have that. I don't think she could win the general at all, but she might.
I don't think she gets the nomination. I am so convinced that she is the most intellectually vulnerable person who is running. And I think someone writes, you know, the DSA writes her talking points for her.
Yep.
And, you know, she sounds like a tough troll every once in a while, like, you know, her back and forth with Riley Gaines recently.
Yeah.
And but then I think, you know, she's like a graham cracker house in a rainstorm. It just
and
the whole
she's
thing's
on the
gonna fall apart.
20%. She's always taking the 20% side, that it's like you're going to fight with Riley Gaines on an issue that's 80-20. So you're taking the 20%. Most Americans don't think there should be men competing against women in sports. This, if anything, the last election showed us this. And yet you're still going to die on that hill for some reason and argue that point and make fun of a woman for even bringing something up that, like, aren't you pro-woman? Oh, and also suddenly we believe in a meritocracy. We believe in hard work. Out of the blue, suddenly that matters. AOC, they can't. They're so inconsistent, and the whole message is incoherent. And I do think, again, normies, if anything, are craving coherence. They just want a rational worldview. They're tired of and I say this as people who voted for Trump, and he's crazy in, I think, a kind of different way, but the right wing, for all of their problems, did lean more into reality as we know it, as the left wing just spun out and kept on trying to defy reality.
Yes, and I'm actually very much looking forward to Trump's State of the Union in January, because that is he is never better and more disciplined and doesn't create a better emotional connection with people, regardless of how you vote, than the State of the Union. And he's going to go so big next year. And, just the things, even, DJ, the kid with brain cancer, Democrats, those constipated, frigid Democrats just sitting down, when he talked about these poor young women who were slaughtered by these illegal immigrant murderers, and a kid with brain cancer who just wants to be, what was it, a Secret Service agent, and they're just sitting there and just I haven't pooped in 4 years. I don't plan on visiting the toilet anytime soon.
I know. It's funny too, like they cannot bear to just even give him a hand at all. They just they can't bear it, and they will
even on the Gaza peace deal.
Yeah,
it's like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama just through gritted teeth, like, yeah, good job on the thing that I could never have done.
Yeah, it's a weird. It's funny though too, because even on the right, you see like the hatred, the Donald Trump, like the further to the right, they don't like Trump either. And I'm like, how did Trump become this kind of normie? The further into the administration we go, this time it feels like he becomes the more just like normie candidate.
Yeah,
like,
he's like the Heathcliff Huxtable without the Valium and the rape.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure how you get rid of Kamala though, to answer your question. I don't know that none of these people have any shame. So they can't look in the mirror and say, maybe I should just sit this one out. I lost badly and I'm not going to win. I'm just going to take attention away and resources that could go somewhere else. They all crave power and relevance, and I don't see her, and they're delusional. So yeah. I don't see any part of her believing that she doesn't stand a chance this time.
No, she and I don't know who it is who gets in these people's ears. We're talking about the polling earlier, her internal polling, and it's like, who are these people who are just blatantly lying to them? Because I think, those are the people who look at her and go, yeah, you've got twice as much support as Gavin Newsom right now. Like, you are, should I just start calling you Madam President? Because it's a foregone conclusion. And people like her are like, yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah. I got the most votes of any Democrat in history. I was the most qualified person to ever run for the job. Yeah.
I think it's just people who want jobs around them who tell them this.
Yes.
They just want there to be Kamala Inc. again so that they can go have a job, and they tell them. And we've seen this with you've been in this industry and Hollywood long enough to know that if you are famous and rich, you usually have a bunch of people around you telling you what you want to hear. I always joke that if everyone's interacting with ChatGPT and it talks to you the same way that famous people get spoken to all the time, it treats every average person like they're famous. Yes. It's like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, no, go with that. Run with that. I love that idea. And they're like, you think? And it's like, the moon is made of cheese. And they're like, yeah, it probably could be.
Should I become a church-going nudist? Yes. That'd be
absolutely
amazing.
Do it.
You look
that would
so
be great.
good.
You look great for your age. It would be empowering. And yes, queen.
The congregation would love it. Just put the crown on your head now. Yes, that is such a wonderful observation. All right, so dumpster fire, walk-ins welcome, real America with Bridget Phetasy. All of it, all of you, always welcome here on Will Cain Country.
I love you.
You have the red carpet, the carte blanche, and the Blanche from Golden Girls. All of it is yours.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you,
Thank
Bridget.
you for having me.
Absolutely. There goes Bridget Phetasy. And we are coming back in moments. Grokpedia is online. But how factual is it compared to the human-run Wikipedia? And don't get me started on Wikipedia. This is Will Cain Country, Kennedy in for Will Cain. You hear that? Yeah. It's a sick jam. Shake it up, bake it up, wake it up. It's Will Cain Country. It's Kennedy in for Will. And Patrick and Dan are here. They are my flying buttresses.
Yes, indeed.
The wind beneath my Will Cain-shaped wings. And they are here to right the ship, right any wrongs that I have said over the last part of the broadcast. Or
We'll
maybe
speak to
ever
legal
in my
about
life.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Let's get legal on the phone. So Grokpedia is here, and this is a direct hit at Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is powered by human beings who input hopefully factual information, but we know it is loaded with errors. Grokpedia is powered by Grok, which is AI, and it's up and running in no time. And Dan, you came up with an interesting idea to see if we could test Grokpedia's mettle. What is it?
So we have some information about you, Kennedy, on Grokpedia, and I want to see if it's true. So I'll ask you a series of questions. You give you the answer, and we'll see if Grokpedia was correct.
Okay, cool.
So number one, what degree did Kennedy earn and from which university?
A philosophy degree from UCLA.
Wow. She earned a bachelor's degree in philosophy from UCLA. That's what Grokpedia said.
Correct.
So we're off to a good start.
Nice.
What was Kennedy's role on MTV, and during which years did she host Alternative Nation?
I hosted Alternative Nation from November of 92 to, I think, June of 1997. And I was an MTV VJ, but at times I was a correspondent for MTV News.
That's pretty close.
What does it say?
Kennedy first gained prominence in the 1990s as an MTV VJ, hosting Alternative Nation from 1992 to 1997.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I just gave you a few more specifics there.
that's right.
All right.
All right. What was the title of Kennedy's 1999 book, and what does it contain?
Hey, ladies, tales and tips for curious girls. It has tales and tips
Wow.
for girls of the curious variety. And there's lots of stuff in there. Don't stuff your bra. It's okay to become a nun. How to save money. It's a collection of essays. And it was from a time before I had kids. It's like leaving early adulthood.
That's interesting.
And, the things that I would have told myself at 12 if I had known better.
Pretty sure my sister had it back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how many pages it is? Because Grok does know.
Like 232?
224.
Okay, very good.
Very interesting. All right, last one. What was the title of Kennedy's 2013 book, and what was it about?
The Kennedy Chronicles, the golden age of MTV through rose-colored glasses.
That's right. A memoir recounting her MTV VJ tenure, which I loved back then, just saying.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You know yourself pretty well. So does Grok.
So does Grok. Grok's pretty accurate.
So far, man.
Can you change Grok like you can Wikipedia? Grokpedia? Do you know, Patrick?
I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
Interesting.
Let's try and change some stuff.
Okay. Didn't you have something, Kennedy, that...
Yes.
Okay.
So for several years on Wikipedia, it said that I dated Screech, Dustin Diamond from Saved by the Bell. God rest his soul. That was not the case.
What?
We went on a fake date there was a teen version of Elle magazine for a short period, and they asked me to write a piece where he and I went to dinner at Universal in Universal City, California. And then I took him to Dweezil and Amit Zappa's house. And he was very high key. He was only 16 years old. Nothing happened. At the end of the night, he did ask me if I wanted to go park somewhere and look at the stars. And I was like, absolutely not.
I know what parking means.
Yeah.
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 He's an interesting cat. You know, it was. Rest in peace.
God rest his soul.
I love Saved by the Bell.
Who didn't? And then Mr. Belding used to show up at all sorts of events.
Yeah.
And people would be all excited because it's like, here's a character from their childhood. And then he's like, hey, you guys want to party? And it's like, no, we don't. No. That's weird. Like, you're not just an actor trying to get along with some cultural phenoms.
What's up, fellow cool kids?
Exactly. Oh, Mr. Belding. I don't know if he is still with us. I hope he is.
I think he is. Well, good. It's good to get to know more about you.
Thank you so much. And Patrick, Will, wherever you are, thank you so much for making this hour of Will Cain Country an absolute delight. Find Will Cain on the Fox News channel, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 in the West, and always here in the country. It is Kennedy signing off.